Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. To cover up its close association with China and to get absolved from its dereliction of duty, WHO, World Health Organization, constituted a team, and that was to investigate the origin and the growth of coronavirus. This investigation team went to China, and the reports were that the Chinese government was impeding the investigation. They were not collaborating. People were not being permitted to meet the investigators. Nevertheless, in a televised event recently, the investigation team presented its report. Surprisingly, the conclusions and the results of the investigation were extremely brief, sketchy, and shall I say, bit of a farce, maybe a burlesque, a comedy degenerating into a burlesque. Not only that, there was a clear division in the results. While one team said that it was there, the other team very clearly stated that the virus origin in China was there and there was evidence indicating that the spread of coronavirus was more widespread than ever admitted, according to one of the investigators, Peter Van Embrek. He said the China virus was circulating widely, and this is a new finding. How he made this statement against the majority team is amazing, but shows that there are some honest people. Looking at the report, and after I listened to it, saw it, then read it, I found first the team concluded very clearly, according to them, that there was no likelihood of the virus having leaked out accidentally from the Yuan Institute of Virology. Secondly, they say the virus in all probability originated from the seafood market. Now, looking at the money spent, the time spent, and the attention grabbed away from the treatment, is the world any wiser after this investigation? It is obvious that it is not as this is what has been the official line of the Chinese government as well as WHO. There has been a clear understanding between the two. And that understanding has been to the detriment of the health of millions. There has been an unholy alliance between China and WHO, as I mentioned earlier in my comments as well as in my article. But coming back to the report, my question is, did the team learn anything new? Did the expert team go through all the turbulent possibly spend millions of dollars in fees and expenses just to reiterate these 2 points that China is not responsible for the spread of virus, and secondly, it did not originate from Yuan Institute of Virology, but from the sea market. And then these 2 points have already been circulated by China many times. So what did the investigation achieve except to just sign on the dotted line the Chinese propaganda. In the hindsight, it does appear so that China has WHO in its hold, and WHO does not say anything against China. And even if one was to believe, I mean, still for this to be a devil's advocate, I'll believe that the virus originated in the seafood market. Then why no effort has been made to investigate the chain backward? There's always a supply chain. You say sea market, from where the sea came, these fish came. Was any investigation done to see the chain and find out the origin of the virus, the source of the virus? That was important. If the virus came from the fresh seafood, logically, the food must have been caught locally in and around China. So China is responsible. So why no effort has been made to see what it happens? When you say seafood, does it mean the entire range of seafood? Or is it restricted to a few odd species that were the source of virus? I'm definite, and you would agree with me that efforts could have been made to study the same with a view to narrow down to the species, sources, and locations from where the virus came. It has not been done. Now, if it did not, the second possibility, that it was not from the fresh source, but it was from the frozen seafood, as is claimed by some people. Okay, accepting. Then, has any effort been made to narrow down on the kind of seafood and the batch of the seafood involved? These days, processed food, whether it's raw or cooked, carry all the relevant details on each batch produced. And it's an extremely child's play to accurately assess which frozen food and batch was responsible. And that's the reason the frozen foods are recalled in Canada and USA very often. But it's not been done by this team of supposedly world famous experts. Had not been done, this could either have upheld the Chinese claim or it could have thrown out the Chinese claim in the dustbin. Chinese claim that the virus originated from the frozen food imported from USA and other Western nations. Agreed, quite possible. But why were those batches and the source of the country not revealed? Which company packed it, when it was packed? The moment you look at the supply chain, you can identify the source. It has not been done. Then, next question which arises is, did the WHO team see and assess the frozen or fresh food samples based on which it concluded that the virus originated from the seafood market in Oman? The testing of the sample is extremely important. Surely, when the virus first was reported in Yuan, some sample from the seafood market would have been taken, some analysis done, some reports prepared. I'm not talking of the reports prepared for the public consumption, but for real research purpose and for the safety of the people. Why is WHO team, which consisted of world famous virologists, keep its mouth shut? Reportedly, corona type of virus can last for 2 years or more at temperatures around minus 20 degrees Celsius. That's a given fact that the virus can last for 2 years or even more if the temperature is minus 20 degrees Celsius. And why so? That's the reason that all frozen food is frozen at minus 20 degrees Celsius. So If the samples were kept, the virus would still be around. It wouldn't have vanished. Perhaps the WHO team needs to clarify if such samples exist even today, or have they been destroyed? And if they have been destroyed, then should it not be verified the intention of destroying them? The reason why they were destroyed? Was it to hide some criminal intent? Then the question arises, importantly, more importantly, if the virus is attributed to imported frozen food, surely the same food must have been exported to some other country as well. So if the same food from X place is exported to China, it's also exported, let's say, to Australia, let's say to South Africa. I'm talking about different continents, to Japan, to Switzerland. Why did coronavirus not epidemic not break out in those countries? This is a question the team has sought to gloss over. And this is an important question. You do not make a product only for one country in these days of globalization. The trawlers, I have set up that deep sea fishing. The trawlers, when they came, the mother factory is right on the ship, and then it's processed right away. From one place, it's sent to about a dozen countries. So why was it not done? The main question is why the chain has not been established and investigated. Above all, the workers in such factory would have been the first casualties. So if, as China says, and WHO believes it in its report, that the frozen food came from USA or from Western Europe, then it should have broken out first in those. I mean, you pack something. 15 days is the incubation period. In these 15 days, but it would take for the food to travel from the source of manufacture to the end customer, which is China. So in those 15 days, the workers in that factory should have fallen sick. And not only fallen sick themselves, but they should have been the cause of spreading the infection. So the epidemic should have been broken out much earlier in West Europe or in America before it broke out in China. Why has this not been assessed? Then has an effort been made to investigate those factories where the food, from where the food was imported? Finally, if the virus came from bats, as was originally believed, one would presume that the seafood market Jovan sold bats also for human consumption. And you can believe that the edible bat meat is not as common as seafood or poultry is, so its source would be limited. In this case, again, the question begs to answer why was no investigation initiated to go step by step from the seafood market to the source from the edible bats originating? These lapses make me wonder about the reasonable aspect of the report. And these are the questions which any layman like me would ask. These are the questions which the experts would ask. And the experts found by the WHO team should have had many more questions crop up because of their expertise and experience in their respective fields. If those questions had been answered, one hopes that the investigation data and the findings will be made public. Why have they not been made public? It is important that this be done, as otherwise the credibility and the integrity of the team itself is open to question, and so is the integrity, the honesty, the probity, and the utility of WHO. Why should it not be allowed to exist? Why should it not be allowed to die? It needs mercy killing. It's worthwhile to know that the original press conference included invitation to the press, and they were cancelled. The whole presentation was cancelled because China objected. China said, no, some people who have been invited should not have been invited. Then another press briefing was organized, and this was not done by WHO or by the team. It was organized by the Chinese authority. And then the presentation was also not done by the team. It was done by the Chinese authority. Though it shows the strange, it's very strange and raises many doubts about the credibility of WHO and the team of experts. As I said earlier, there have been some disagreements within the team. And some teams have been very critical, some members of the team, of China. We need a detailed report. It's futile to reflect on the disagreement. USA has not accepted the report and is conducting its own investigation. Australia never subscribed to the seafood market theory in the first place. So I wonder if there is a deliberate attempt to suppress the truth about the origin and the growth of virus to ensure that one rogue country called China is protected? And if so, why? Unfortunately, the price being paid to hide the truth is very heavy. And I'm not talking of the money part. I know millions have been spent, wasted rather. I'm talking of the cost in the human life. Already, more than 2.5 million people have died. More than 110 million people around the world are affected by coronavirus. Heavy toll of economies all over the world. And it might take many nations decades of years to recover. And that to satisfy one nation? Is it the global domination by China in action? Is it the new Raj, new empire showing its fangs? These are the questions we have got to face and we have got to answer. The report has only one utility that shows the absolute uselessness of WHO and United Nations. We say when a person becomes senile, he should be clamped in isolated cell. So that's not a public danger. And when a person becomes absolutely useless and is a living corpse, the way out is mercy killing. Why not have mercy killing for WHO and United Nations? And the sooner we do, maybe it will be better for the world. Are there any takers for this mercy killing? There should be, because that would show the honesty and the integrity of the countries involved and the people involved. Thank you.